Hi, this is the film, Captain. The exhausted deserter soldier finds an officer uniform and begins to rule, creates his own detachment, and arranges executions. You have arranged a uniform outrage here. This is inhuman, and I will report it about it. The event of this, based on the real history of the black and white film, begins in April 1945. 2 weeks before the surrender of Germany, the protagonist and private deserter, Willi Herold, runs along the country road. A whole truck of fun Germans rolls behind him. The orchestra plays in the back, and the captain, drinking schnapps from his throat, shoots at the running criminal. Luck favors Heralda. Having reached the forest where the truck does not pass, he is hiding from the pursuers, like a hobbit from the ring Prizrax. Later, at an abandoned railway station, he finds a blanket and makes footcloths. There he meets another deserter, exhausted, but with a gun. Having rested, they climb the farm at night. On a tree near it, a cheerful with a sign, "Morris is punishable by death," dangles. The warning does not stop them. In the barn, Willi steals chicken eggs directly from under the chickens, while the partner is standing with a stone in his hands above the sleeping watchman. The disturbed chickens lift the whips, and the watchman wakes up. Willi tells his partner to kill the watchman, but he just runs away. The guard raises a scream, and he rushes at Herold, who repels his head on the bricks. Next, he sees how farmers awakened by the noise of the villas are injected by the accomplice. Not wanting to decorate a tree with his corpse, the former private runs away. He makes his way along the railway tracks past a small town. On the country road, Herold finds an abandoned car, and in it, except for a box of apples, a box with the shape of the captain of the Luftwaffe. He hastily dressed as a uniform. He was at the time, unless the trousers are a little too big. From such good luck, Willi even plays a small scene, introducing himself as an officer when another deserter, an ordinary freight, comes upon him. Having accepted the stranger for a real captain, he reports that he fought off his own and asks for the command of Herold. To begin with, he is ready to pull out a car stuck in the mud. The fraudster easily accepts the rules of the game and begins to behave as a commander. Moreover, the choice is not particularly rich. When the ordinary pulls out the car, they go to the city together. Along the way, the newly fired captain quietly throws out old clothes so that the subordinate does not guess anything. Already then, they arrive at the tavern. Locals are not too friendly to the military. The war is practically lost. Soldiers desert in crowds, simultaneously robbing the locals. Herold uses hostility for his own purposes. He begins to interrogate the locals about the damage caused by deserters, so that the government pays compensation. This finds a warm response among the locals. Even the owner feeds them dinner. However, the incontinence of Freitag, when the food absorption, makes the owner of the inn to suspect the same deserters in them, forced to starve on the road. Only the restraint and skill of the captain helps to maintain a legend. But at night, the locals are checking it. They bring under the windows of the caught thief and demand to deal with him. Without trembling a single muscle on his face, Herold lets the bullet into his head. In the morning, they go to the farm where Willi stole eggs. Here, 3 fugitives have already seized power. They seated the corpses of less successful colleagues on the sofa, mock the owners, and rob supplies. Herold's imperious appearance and command voice allows you to take control of the situation. He writes robbers in his detachment. One of them notes that the pants are clearly too big. Having drawn conclusions, he does not tell anyone about this. Without boot supplies, the detachment goes on. On the way, they come across 2 soldiers rolling an anti-aircraft gun. They too join the group with the dwarf alternatives. When the fuel ends in the car, soldiers have to drag it on a leash along with the gun, which at a certain moment leads to an exacerbation of personal hostility. A convertible, on fascist traction, is overtaken by a military police truck. Hair guys check the documents ready in case of disobedience to open fire. Herold has to show a remarkable acting talent to convince the inspector that his powers are more complete than his. Already the Führer himself sent him to the rear to check the situation. An alarming rumors about what is happening here comes to him. But for starters, who am I talking to? Having accepted the fraud of a fraudster for the truth, the military bring them to the camp for prisoners, where they hold deserters and looters. On the way to them, the same officer sits up who at first shot at the running Herold, but does not recognize him in a new form. The captain is explained that holding prisoners and ensuring their existence in such a difficult time for the country is an unacceptable luxury. He, as especially personally delegated by the Führer, could help with solving this problem, bypassing bureaucratic red tape and judicial legal wires. In particular, a military court is needed to pronounce sentences to the prisoners. But while Willi will think about this matter, its detachment needs food and accommodation. The Juta camp manager shows Herold a prisoner barracks and puts it up. During interrogation, the subordinate Willi beats the prisoner, simultaneously selecting more or less valuable things from the rest. Private Freitat believes that this is wrong and asks the captain to stop lawlessness. But he notes that these people are still not tenants. Their fate is a foregone conclusion. At the same time, the manager talks with the head of the judicial officials, Hansen, without whom no one can understand the captives. He asks Schutte to convey to one of the prisoners a parcel from a daughter who earned this right with a lying labor. He agrees, but does not have time to move by 10 steps, as he puffs the contents of himself. Herold informs Schutte that he will hold military courts, on the basis of which captives can be executed. Some have already been killed. 2 were shot. 3 were scored to death. This leads to the fury of the justice officer. He reports the bosses about the arbitrariness of Schutte and Herold. However, they cleverly get out, they say. The prisoners attack the officer during the interrogation. However, the situation is dangerous. The authorities can verify the powers of Herold and find out that there is no person from the Führer. Schutte, who wants to quickly finish all the affairs in the camp, calls his superiors in order to receive approval from the Gestapo to conduct Captain Herold of simplified military courts, bypassing the Ministry of Justice. Unless, of course, Willi agrees to take all responsibility and management. Having received permission, Schutte informs Hansen's bosses, and they, in fact, allow you to act without him. The justice officer receives a call from above, and then he sees that cunning colleagues in the camp business have already begun to solve the problem. Prisoners dig a spacious hole on the edge of the forest. The joke leads the prisoners from the barracks, a group of 30 people. They march, singing a march, even being driven into a hole. Herold orders to adjust the anti-aircraft gun. Prisoners are shot from it, tearing their bodies into pieces. After the first clip, the survivors remained. They are trying to escape, but the soldiers, having reloaded the gun, open fire on them. From the awareness of the deed, Willi wants to scream, but he holds his face. If his deception reveals, they will do the same with him. When the anti-aircraft gunner is wedges, the personnel finishes the survivors of manual weapons. Only Freitag does not take part in execution. After a small dinner, hot potatoes, a firing team every daily returns to the performance of their duties. Freitag stands on the sidelines, but exactly until it turns out that the moans of the wounded are heard in the pit. To finish it off, it is necessary to climb into the grave itself, and the captain tells the dialer to save the unfortunate from torment, which he reluctantly fulfills. In just one day, Herold and Pike shot 90 prisoners. Hansen reports this to the authorities when he hears the swearing outside. The remaining captives refuse to bury the hole. The officer tells the soldiers to bury the grave himself, and they have to obey. When they throw the bodies with lime, it is clear that some of the executed are still alive. But this is not for long. The dining room and personnel celebrate successful work, praising Captain Herold. Guests enjoy the performance of 2 artists from among the prisoners. The repertoire goes over the amount of toilet humor. Also, together with the officer staff, they are performing the anthem of the battle fraternity. While the soldier has fun with the banal and ordinary scammers on a blue shop, officers have a secular conversation with cultural workers. Willi wants to know why the talented guys were thrown into prison, but they do not admit. Then he offers to play the game, to imagine that they are all thieves. He himself, for example, stole an officer uniform. Accessing veiled confession for the joke, guests will find out that the artist robbed a dead comrade. This makes jester jackets, from which the raging soldiers distract. The fight went outside and became mass. However, having lowered the steam, the instigators are brother, and go to beat the prisoners of the camps who refused to bury the grave earlier. Officers notice beating and ordered to stop. but the subordinate of Herold does not obey. The imposter, in order not to lose his face in front of the managing camp, has to improvise. At first, he shoots a pistol over the spirit of a guilty soldier, stunning him for a while. Then he puts the beaten in a row, connects them with a rope in one chain, and, taking out a gun, orders to run. When the prisoners run away, Willi shoots one in the back. Others drag the fallen comrade. Herold passes the gun to one of the artists and orders to do the same. The artist kills the second captive, but his scene colleague shoots himself in the head instead of obeying the order. The captain is waiting for the artist to raise the gun. Another fugitive is less. While Willi reloads the pistol, and the unfortunate target drags 3 bodies at once, his wife Puppito takes his weapon and begins to shoot. All those present join the shooting. A dozen bullets sticks into the exhausted body before it fell into the mud. In the morning, Fry sees so that Hralda is sewing up 2 long trousers, clearly sewn not under his height. But he says nothing. Given the circumstances, this is deadly. Shuto approaches the tent. A detachment for combing the area for searching for deserters is ready. The captain goes to them in a tunic and underpants, which does not interfere with reading an enthusiastic speech and send everyone in masturbation. While none of the locals is there, the Hralda detachment is arranging a pirushka with drunken dances and a mockery of prisoners. A squinting camp with a bunch of lying corpses, who returned with his people, is Shuyato. The drunken people of the captain come out of the kitchen, and he himself barely stands on his feet. But then the dining room takes off into the air, with everyone who did not have time to go out. British artillery works around the territory, comparing the camp with the ground. Yes, and the Union aviation gives the Germans a big greetings in the TNT equivalent. After an air raid, a staggering Herold lifts a cap and coat from the ground. He gives the command to survive to build. It is time for them to bring down from this hospitable place. Together with soldiers' defenders, a couple of prisoners survived. The captain tells them to find a military uniform. Titer informs the viewer that only the table was left for the barrier from this camp, and everything else turned into arable land. The color picture of this place is shown these days. The detachment travels to the city by car, with the inscription on board, the fast court of Herold. In fraudulent plans, they are similar to the crew of the GNU Antelope from the Golden Calf. Only, unlike the Great Combinator, the captain does not honor the criminal code. Having rolled around the streets, they stop near the city hall, where the white flag hangs with the inscription, "Welcome." So the local authorities welcomes allies who are about to approach the city. The soldiers immediately execute the mayor, who did not go out of the door on the time. Having requisitioned the provisions, Herold goes to the best house in the city. Here, deserters arrange a stormy party, but then a woman came and ruined everything. One of the faithful wards brazenly leads away from the captain that attracted Fraulein. Relitude should be very soon. Before the doves could retire in the room, who had fallen, who forgot about the subordination and the right of the first night, the former colleagues dragging the ardor in the bathroom. Willi enters the vacant room and removes the tunic. Soon he judges Stefano, who dared to doubt who is the alpha male. Having accused him of looting, betrayal of the homeland and other things every day for the detachment, the captain passes the death sentence. In the yard of the ordinary, they stripped naked and fired. He passes a few steps with a leisurely step before a volley of rifles cuts off his sinful life. After that, Herold with his people arrange an even more unheard-of party, with songs, dancing, half-naked girls, and waterfalls of alcohol. After such an event in the morning, they are lying around, where they got and how it hit. It is precisely the military police who finds them, and arrests. The captain in Villa is trying to eat his documents, but the policeman managed to save some of them. And there it is written by German, in the white, that he is a simple ordinary. Despite the many crimes, at the court of Herold, instead of the death penalty, they offer parole. He proved himself to be an ingenuous guy with an iron grip, resourcefulness, and manners of a true officer. Instead of hanging, he is sent to the front line, to which he happily agrees. True, a little later he escapes with a rope from tied sheets. The former captain wanders through the forest, strewn with skeletons, literally walking along the bones, before hiding in the impenetrable dusk of the forest. The final Titer